Right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, any goodwill that the New York Mets have created for themselves with their 7 game winning streak late last month has quickly evaporated as they've now lost 8 of their last 9. Getting swept by the San Diego Padres on the road is one thing. But then the Mets returned home and lost 2 out of 3 over the weekend to the San Francisco Giants. And then they compounded that by just getting swept by the Cleveland Guardians. And speaking of the Giants and Guardians, these are two teams who had just basically thrown in a towel at the trade deadline. But you look at the Mets, and they are who they are. And this team, unfortunately, has all of the symptoms of being a Jekyll and Hyde team. Why? Because one week the Mets will look like World Series contenders, while they'll soon follow it up by looking like a team that has just discovered the sport of baseball. Now, all season long, New York has failed to hit with runners in scoring position, and over their last 5 games alone, or pardon me, the last 9 games alone. Okay, the Mets have been held to 3 runs or fewer 5 times. Okay, a ninth inning home run yesterday by Juan Soto prevented the Mets from being shut out and no hit, courtesy of the Guardians. You look at it. Yes, the Mets do have the highest payroll in baseball, but they're a fractured team. I mean, you got a top heavy lineup. And on top of that, there is zero consistency in this lineup. You look at the Mets, they lack starting pitching, okay? Only the Colorado Rockies and Miami Marlins have fewer quality starts in the National League than this year than the Mets. It's one of those things where if you watch the Mets and if their starters can actually get through 5 innings, okay, you're almost surprised. That's how bad it is. And you look at the Mets, they've gone from a team that had a solid hold on first place in the NL East earlier this year to a team that's been neck and neck with the Philadelphia Phillies. But now they appear to be taking on some water in regards to the Mets, while the Phillies vessel appears to be seaworthy. The Mets have now slipped down to the final wild card spot in the National League, and of course, that was the spot that they claimed last season. But nonetheless, you look at this team: Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. Those are your big bats. They have not been hitting, and the sad thing is, when I'm talking about them not hitting, aside from them, there is nobody else in this lineup that has really hit all season long. For me, the question is it time for the Mets to move on from their hitting coach, Eric Chavez? I'm going to say yes, because you look at the National League this season, the Mets are 12th in the NL and batting and hits, and they really cannot sustain that if they want to be a playoff team. You think about where the Mets are hitting wise, you think about where the Mets are with their starting pitching. I'll tell you like this: they should be very thankful that they're 11 games over 500 with the way that they've played, because honestly, they played a lot worse. For me, I look at this team, and we're here at the beginning of August, and you're at that point where you can't just sit up there and say, well, you know what? They're going to get it going at some point. They're going to get it going at some point. You can deal with that in April and like the first part of May. Okay, but at this point of the Major League Baseball season, you are who you are. I think there is too much complacency for this Mets team. I think they're living off of last season. And honestly, when I say living off of last season, they're living off of the second half of last season. The Mets got hot, okay, over the second half of the season. They had plenty of momentum, okay, but they have not been able to recapture that. And for me, I think one of the biggest things for the Mets right now, yes, they spent a lot of money, okay, but at the end of the day, I don't see any leaders on this team. I could be wrong, but I simply don't see any leaders. There's no accountability. There's no guy that's going to sit up or guys that are going to sit up and say, hey, not on my watch, not tonight. By hook or by crook, we're going to go out there and win. There's nobody in his pitching staff that's going to take the bull by the horns and say, you know what? Put the ball in my hands. I'm going out there and you're not taking me out of the game. Okay. And when it's all said and done, the proof is in the pudding. Steve Cohen has vowed for change with this team. He talked about, he spent the money. He wanted to see the Met fans show up and support this team. Well, guess what? The Mets got to give their fans something to go out there and support. David Stearns, the Mets president of baseball ops, he's kind of structured this team kind of like how he did with the Milwaukee Brewers for so many years. But at the end of the day, you need starting pitching. Okay, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Carlos Mendoza, what is he going to do to answer the bell for this team? I'll tell you like this. I don't see how you could, first and foremost from a lineup standpoint, how you can go out there and keep trotting out Eric Chavez as your hitting coach. Even if you fire him to try to provide a spark for this team, you've got to do something because this is a funk of all funks, if you're the New York Mets. And I think yesterday's one hit performance by this club was probably as low as it can get. And at some point, something has to give. Now, you ask yourself, are the Mets fixable? Absolutely. But I think it's gut check time from the standpoint that they have to look in the mirror because nobody's coming in that room to save them. This is the squad that they're out there with, and they've got to go out there and take care of business. They got a day off today, okay? But then you're on the road. You're facing the Milwaukee Brewers. I know that there was an epic three-game series last year in the wild card round, but you look at the Brewers right now. They're the best team in baseball. This is what the Mets are up against. And then after that, they come back home and host the Atlanta Braves for 3 games. I know the Braves are out of it, and they're not going to be a playoff team this year, but guess what? The Braves continue to have the Mets number. Then they host Seattle before they're on the road for Washington and Atlanta. It's put up or shut up time for the Mets. They're 2.5 games behind the Phillies. They're basically tied with the Padres for that second wild card spot. The Padres are up on them by percentage points as we speak, and then the Reds are 3 games behind them. But again, at the end of the day, nobody's going to save the Mets at this point. They've got to save themselves. And will they be up for the challenge? I mean, Francisco Lindor, he's not playing well. Juan Soto, he wanted the money, he got the money, but at the end of the day, the Mets are basically have gotten a no frills version of Juan Soto. You look at Pete Alonso; he's back to the same old habits at the plate that he had, for the last couple of years. So Mark Vientos, another disappointment in this lineup this year for the Mets. You are who you are at this point. The Mets are an up and down team. They just think that they could turn it on when they want to and everything's going to be okay. The National League is a lot better this year. You better bring it. And so far, the Mets have not. So let's see if the Mets can get out of their funk and get this ship righted. But folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. The same can be said for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. And also, if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.